Hello and welcome to Pluribus Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDRs, but hey, it's something. Now, this episode is going to be another political quiz episode, and it's purely because I didn't have enough time to really think of a topic for this podcast, because, as you can tell, we're in the endgame month of the podcast now. The endgame month of this channel at this moment, because it's December. Even though I'm recording this in November, this is coming out in December. So we're in the endgame now. And the first thing is, I guess I gotta just let people know again, just in case they don't know. Next video is gonna be coming up pretty soon. I'm still working on something. Like, this video is uploaded and it will come out on the 4th. But I'm still working on one thing that'll make this video even more special. You could probably take a wild guess what it is. It's not gonna be that impressive. It's not that impressive, but it's impressive enough that it's just like, okay, it's impressive enough. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's get right into the news. The first news story is Australia is banning social media for kids under 16. How will it work? Starting on December 10th, social media companies will have to take reasonable steps to ensure that under 16s in Australia cannot set up accounts on their platforms and that existing accounts are deactivated or removed. The government says the ban, a world-first policy popular with many parents, is aimed at reducing the pressures and risks children can be exposed to on social media, which come from design features that encourage them to spend more time on screens while also serving up content that can harm their health and well-being. A study commissioned by the government earlier this year said 96% of children aged 10 to 15 use social media, and that 7 out of 10 of them had been exposed to harmful content or behavior. This behavior ranges from misogynist material to fight videos to content promoting eating disorders and suicide. 1 in 7 also reported experiencing grooming-type behavior from adults or other children, and more than half say that they have been victims of cyberbullying. Now, this is the thing. This is a policy that it's well-intentioned. It's obviously well-intentioned. Like, as it says here, it's preventing people from. Of course, it's saying like, oh, what we're doing is we're preventing people from interacting with misogynist material. We're preventing people from going to content that promotes eating disorders and suicide. We're preventing grooming. That's the obvious idea behind it. But the fact of the matter is, here's the truth. This is not a good idea. And, some of it is because, just me as a child. I was 16 and using the internet, and I was, to an extent, fine. Now, you could say, oh, no, that explains it. But, this is the thing. There's a lot of things you could say about a lot of things. For example, one thing is, the question, what about kids who are under the age of 16 who the only way they can communicate with people is through social media? Now, if you remove that tool from all those people, the idea that a lot of people say is if we just simply prevent the kids from going on sites like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, and Kick and Twitch, if we just do that, then we'll just, we'll just do that to expand the ban to online gaming. Oh boy, this is getting really bad. Oh fuck, this is getting really terrible. But it's literally just on one end, first it's you've removed those tools for those people. Some people, the idea is that you think if we just ban these things, then the kids are going to be forced to go outside. It's okay, what if that doesn't happen? There's no evidence that once this happens, it doesn't happen. And it's and this is another problem. It's rather than, and there's multiple other elements of this. Rather than telling Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, and platforms like Kick and Twitch to handle things like content that promotes eating disorders, content that promotes suicide, content that has cyberbullying, content that promotes grooming, instead of telling these social media sites, fix these problems, their solution is, let's kick the kids off social media. And they didn't even address a big problem that people already have pointed out. The fact that people under the age of 16 don't have social media platforms anymore. All the social media platforms since all those social media platforms that we have that exist now are made for adults. All these platforms are made with adults in mind, Well, I guess except for TikTok. TikTok's the only one that I think is probably not made for adults. Or at least the one that wasn't intentionally made for adults. I don't know. Music.ly was the one that was originally considered like the site kids use. But like, you get my point. These are sites that are made with adults, with adult minds. This is what these sites were made for adult people, for adult content. But now, since children are being forced into going on these sites, now these sites are intentionally getting worse because they have to cater to children that are going to be on these sites, even though they probably shouldn't be on these sites. And we're even getting worse ones, like Roblox. I saw an interview, like, people talk about this. Roblox CEO has really gotten fucked up because he literally held an interview where he just point blank said that he's not going to do anything to resolve the fucking child grooming problems that have been going on Roblox. And his only solution is that making so that they're now going to age check. Now on Roblox, you have to be age checked to go on Roblox. And that's fucked up. This was a site made for literal children, made for babies. And it's a site where kids literally were creative. They were able to like make their own hobbies. They were able to do all this stuff. They were able to become creative and do things. But then thanks to the fact that the guy won't even fucking control his own fucking site and regulate the fucking pedophiles on the site or ban them or do anything, instead, he's just going to I guess now the kids can't go on Roblox no more. It's so weird. Instead of actually trying to fix the problems, they're just kicking the can, because this is another problem that's going to come from this. Now you have people who are over the age of 16. Like, I had this explained to me through like a YouTube short, but it was on an unrelated topic, because apparently there's a TikTok trend where literally they demand that children get banned from supermarkets. And basically what happens is you ban kids from going to the supermarkets. Now you have slightly older kids that don't know how to interact in supermarkets. Then you have teenagers who can't interact in supermarkets. Then you have adults who can't interact with supermarkets. This is what you're doing. Rather than giving kids the tools to navigate these social media sites responsibly or holding any of these social media sites responsible for the content that they put on it, instead of that, you're making it so that the people who literally you're trying to protect cannot navigate these social media sites anymore. Like, you need to be able to, there's sort of like a thing about like nature, is it nature versus nurture? I don't know. But like the point is, like, you sometimes have to, no, I'm trying to word it right. But like the point is, like, I guess an example is, of course, this example of cyberbullying. Some people say like you just have to experience cyberbullying to an extent. I guess I wouldn't go so far, because like some people go like that super extra mile. I'd be like, oh, if you're being cyberbullied online, just block and move forward. And it's like, that's not really a choice for a lot of people. And that's the thing. It's, again, these things can have good intentions, but unfortunately, I just don't think the policy is that good of an idea. You need to actually do things to fix the problems beyond just most, if not all things. A ban isn't going to solve it. We tried banning alcohol, that didn't work. We tried banning drugs, that didn't work. You can't just blanket ban something and then just expect it to go over well. Like, you can't just, if you ban all guns, it's not going to fix the problem. Japan still has an organized crime problem, despite the fact they've literally banned all guns. Their gun deaths might be down a little bit, but there's still an illegal gun trade in Japan. You need to actually regulate it and actually make rules for it. But yeah, that's just basically all I got to say on that. So let's move on to the next topic. It's coming from a thing that sadly is going to be a very sad story. Okay. So, the St. Vincent and Grenadines election happened, and the opposition party, the New Democratic Party, has won and defeated the Unity Labour Party, which has held power since 2001. And you could probably already tell, they did not do so hot. They literally did not do so hot. The New Democratic Party won 14 seats, and the Unity Labour Party won 1 seat. And that 1 seat belongs to their leader, Ralph Gonsalves. It's literally the worst party. It's literally the worst party result apparently in the history of this place. It's like, it's because people are like also trying to figure out like what is the actual like plans, like what's the actual what like I mean, because there's a couple of things I'm gonna say about this, but like the question is, of course, like the one big question I wanted to figure out is like why did Comrade Ralph fail so bad? What happened? Literally, what the heck happened? I mean, I know he's not necessarily like he's not necessarily like, I don't know much about like the full ins and outs of the politics of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but like basically like, for those who don't necessarily know, Chocolate Shocks, this party is like the left-wing party. It's like he's like an ally of like a lot of pink, like basically, and I guess I'll just get into it. There are like a couple of things that people will point out as to possibly why this result happened, and some of it is like generic like stuff, you know, like Goodwin's NDP, NDP focus on things like reducing unemployment, climate change, cost of living, that kind of stuff. Ralph Gonsalves basically was like, I'm going to run on stability, nah. But there's even some people even point out like the fact like this guy's party was in favor of like pro China could have possibly been a thing. But I think one big thing that really solidified this race, and is really a thing that's going to be like a little bit more prevalent in the next story, which is kind of it's just a really sad thing, is that I think Trump might have had something to do with this. Because, as I mentioned before, you can mention it as it says a little bit here. Gonsalves is like a ally of Maduro and other pink tide related like governments like Ifran Ali, Lula da Silva. He is very clearly a left wing. He's a left wing socialist type candidate, and as such, maybe, and like this is coming as Donald Trump is trying to rally up support and rally a war in the fucking Caribbean. So there's a possible chance that these results happen because people were just like, let's just try and fix this. Let's try and like make sure that this isn't a bad situation for us. And I know this because there's a very similar situation that happened in 2001 in Nicaragua, where Daniel Ortega specifically lost that election, and his loss was very much attributed to 9/11. Basically, the whole point was like, people were like, oh, well, after like the U.S. suffered this massive terrorist attack, do we really want to elect a guy who is literally anti-U.S.? And it seems to be like the possible logic that is going on in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And this is an actual big thing I'm going to say. This, to me, is kind of the first solidifier of something that I'm going to touch on. Like, as this, like, I mean, I'm on the Pink Tide Wikipedia page. They apparently, I guess they removed, like, the picture of, like, all of the fucking, like, presidents. And if it was still here, they would have had, like, that subsection where it's, like, the other ones, like, the possible ones that include people like Gonsalves. But, like, basically the thesis I'm trying to get on with this topic is, and this is going to be a bit more thing with the next topic, is that I think, unfortunately, Pink Tide Wave 3 is over. Because, the Wikipedia page says it here. Like, they say, like, there's, like, 2 waves of the Pink Tide. I actually disagree with it. Like, hold on, let me see. They have I guess technically they probably do generally agree with, like, a third wave. I don't know necessarily how it would work, but, like, my point is, I think Wave 3 of the Pink Tide is kind of over. And it's because of a lot of factors. We had, like, victories with, like, Orsi and, you know, Shine Bomb. But very recently, they've just not really been doing so, like, hot in a lot of recent elections. Daniel Noboa beat Luisa Gonzalez again. Argentina elected Javier Milei. Let's see. Movement for Socialism got basically trounced in Bolivia. And sure enough, there was Like in the upcoming Chilean election, the left is basically poised to guaranteed to lose in the upcoming election. And I gotta be real. I mean, Honduras election. I guess we could talk about Honduras because there's another factor with it. Trump has announced that he plans to pardon the former Honduran president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who, as this thing says, was accused of receiving millions of bribes and partnering with cocaine traffickers. He was convicted in Manhattan in 2024 and sentenced to 45 years in prison. President Trump announced on Friday afternoon that he would grant a full and complete pardon to a former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who is at the center of a sweeping drug case and was found guilty by an American jury last year for conspiring to import cocaine in the United States. The news came as a shock to not only Hondurans, but also the authorities in the United States, who had built a major case and won a conviction against him. They had accused him of taking bribes during his campaign from Joaquin Guzman, the notorious former leader of the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico known as El Chapo, and of running the Central American country like a narco state. The judge in this case, Kevin Pastel, has called Mr. Hernandez a two-faced politician hungry for power, masqueraded as an anti-drug crusader, while partnering with traffickers, and prosecutors had asked the judge to make sure Mr. Hernandez would die behind bars, citing his abuse of power in connection with violent drug traffickers, and the unfathomable destruction caused by cocaine. And this is the big thing that you gotta understand. Like, I mean, the reason why he's in a U.S. Criminal court right now is because Xiomara Castro, the president of Honduras, literally sent him to America because she literally could not trust how corrupt the politicians were in her own country. And sure enough, she didn't account for the fact that the United States was literally going to hire a corrupt narco president themselves. And that's the big thing you need to understand. This is why, I mean, I'm just gonna be real. I'm gonna say this, it's gonna be a hot take. This is why I voted for Kamala. This is why I voted for Kamala Harris. Because Donald Trump is literally actively, at this moment, actively trying to sabotage all the left-wing parties, all the left-wing governments in Latin America. He is literally going to do, he is doing that right now. He's literally, just point blank, objectively, Donald Trump literally endorsed Javier Milei to defeat Alberto Fernandez. He tried to team up with Lula's. He tried to team up with Bolsonaro to kill Lula, and then when Bolsonaro was trying to flee, he was trying to get help from Trump, and Trump was trying to help him get out of the country. He's trying to ruin and sabotage Gustavo Petro, threatening to kill him. He's basically all but threatened Claudia Sheinbaum. He's basically completely threatened Nicolas Maduro. And right now, in the Honduras election, I guess I could pull it up real quick. Let me see if I can get it. 2017 election, 2021, 2025. It'll show it. No, it does not show it. But he did explicitly endorse the right-wing candidates of this guy's party. It's very strange that he didn't. I mean, I guess it's not really strange. It's obvious. But he's actively. Let me see. Does it say here? Because the social media post was a full post that literally just had him say that he wanted to. Yeah. Here it is. President Trump has endorsed the National Party candidate Nasria Fuera. He's actively trying to. He's clearly trying to actively coup Honduras. He's actively trying to make sure that they elect this right-wing guy over the left-wing candidates. Honduras was I mentioned before in my Honduras episode, literally, they already have major questions about how the election is going to play out. And they just don't know if the election is going to be trustworthy. And Donald Trump is throwing another wrench in the field. This is part of the reason why I voted for Kamala, because Kamala Harris wasn't going to do this. She doesn't do this. The Biden administration teamed up with Latin American left-wing leaders. They teamed up with Lula. They teamed up with Bernardo Arevalo. They teamed up with Xiomara. They teamed up with Petra. They teamed up with all of them. They teamed up with Boric. They teamed up with all of them. They did. They teamed up with them. I don't understand how people could even remotely claim that there's no difference in policy between these two. And Donald Trump is actively tearing all that down. Guys, I really mean this when I say I've been 100% vindicated in my vote. It's just so insane to me. Anyways, let's move on to the next story. This one is an interesting news story. I kind of learned about this a little bit. I kind of got into the story a little bit as I was getting into it. Okay. So currently, not currently, but In 2025, the country of Guinea-Bissau was going to hold a general election, and here's what ended up happening. So, basically, the election was basically slated to be like a normal election, whatever. But there was like a little bit of concerns in regards to the current president at the president at the time, Umarco Siso Ambalo. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the name, but bear with me. And what ended up happening was one of the major issues that happened in the election that was like a very controversial decision. Like, people were concerned that Umaro was going to possibly be we were accusing him of like democratic backsliding, and he was going to like try and like take over the country, essentially, like ruin a lot of things. And one of the big things that happened was he banned the mainstream opposition party, the Inclusive Alliance platform, from running in the election. So they basically had to last minute endorse this guy, Fernando Diaz da Costa, for the election. And the election results were coming in, and the big problem first arose was when both Ambalo and Diaz claimed that they were the winner. Both of these candidates claimed that they were the winner. And then, sadly, things went really bad really fast, because right before the election results were slated to be announced, there was a coup, a military coup. And at first, I was a little bit like, okay, but like, what do you mean? What does this coup mean? Because literally, it's just like, the coup happened, and the president was overthrown and arrested, and then he was released and fled to Senegal, and it's like, what happened there? But then, one of the big things that also happened was, at one point, I think let me see, does it say in this new story? No, but like, does it say here? Because at one point, it claimed that he was arrested too. Oh yeah, he was arrested, but he escaped, and now he's like resisting the coup. It was like pretty weird, because like, at one point, like, it looked like, wait, but like, was it on his side? But it's like, no, it turns out they're not on his side. The military just at the last minute decided to take power, just so no one wins. And some even went so far as to allege that this might have been a self-coup to an extent, because of the fact that Umaro literally got to flee. So it's like, I don't know. I really don't know what's happening. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much for me to say on that. This is just like interesting. I'm curious to see. Hopefully things go well for Guinea-Bissau. Anyways, let's move on to an ICE news story that is actually pretty insane. Well, it's not pretty insane, because at this point, ICE is a obvious, like, terrible fascist institution. Shit. Fuck you. Hold on. Screw you, Seattle Times. Here we go. Indigenous actor Elaine Miles says that ICE called her tribal ID fake. Elaine Miles was walking into a bus stop in Redmond to go to Target, she said, when four men wearing masks and vests with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement label stepped out of two black SUVs with no front plates and pressed her for her ID. Miles, an Indigenous actor best known for her roles on Northern Exposure, Smoke Signals, Wyvern, and The Last of Us, handed them her tribal ID from the Confederated Tribes of Umatilla Indian Reservation in Oregon. Federal government agencies recognize tribal ID as valid form of identification, and Miles had used it to travel back and forth to Canada and Mexico without any issues. Yet Miles recalled one agent calling it fake. Anyone can make that, she recalled another agent saying. Reported encounters between immigration agents and Indigenous people like Miles remain rare, but it's not true. This happened quite a bit. But as immigration enforcement has gotten more aggressive, including in the Seattle area, it seems like Miles are stoking fears beyond immigrant communities. Miles said her son and uncle were both detained by ICE, who initially did not accept their tribal IDs before they were eventually let go. This is what we're talking about here is racial profiling, and again, this is the big problem. ICE keeps doing all this shitty, stupid things, and we wonder why this organization is even allowed to stay alive. The thing, the fact that ICE as an organization is allowed to stay around is insane. They keep, like every other law enforcement agency, keeps making the same fucking mistakes. This is insane. I really don't know what to say except abolish ICE, and let's move on to the next story, which is copyright related. Two copyright related stories revolving AI. OpenAI loses key discovery battle as it cedes grounds to authors in AI lawsuits. The issue... Why does it keep doing that? The issue has been a major battleground in discovery. OpenAI could be on the hook for hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, if it was aware that it was infringing on copyright material. OpenAI has lost a key discovery... Why does it keep doing that? OpenAI has lost a key discovery battle over internal communications related to the startup deleting 2 huge data sets of pirated books. A development that further tilts the scales in favor of... To rewind, authors and publishers have gained access to Slack messages between OpenAI's employees discussing the erasure of the datasets named Books 1 and 2, but the court held off on whether the plaintiffs should get another communications that the company argued protected the attorney-client privilege. In a controversial decision that was appealed by OpenAI on Wednesday, the U.S. Judge Una Wang found that OpenAI must hand over documents revealing the company's motivations for deleting the datasets. OpenAI's in-house legal team will be deposed. At stake, billions of dollars of potentially OpenAI's defense in the case. Like, guys, I don't understand how this case even remotely got to where it is today. I really don't understand. The fact that this case is going as long as it is insane to me and shows that copyright is bullshit, because the fact of the matter is, this should be an open and shut case. Did they steal? Like, they stole. Like, they pirated. Like, it says right here. 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 Huge datasets of pirated books. Let's go again. Let's go again. Let's go again. What was the word? What was the word used? What was the word used? What was the used? What was the word used? Datasets of pirated books. If piracy is theft, there's already proof. You guys know he pirated these books. If piracy was theft, as you all claim it is, this would be an open and shut case. Would it not be? I mean, Aaron Swartz went to jail and had to kill himself for a lot less. The authors have made it abundantly clear they do not want their books used to train these AIs. And literally, this is insane to me. This fucking smug piece of shit that raped his own sister, this piece of shit is able to fucking get away with this, while Aaron Swartz literally was told, they literally said, we will not press charges against Aaron Swartz. And then it's like, no, the US government's like, we gotta fucking get. And then this fucking piece of shit is just walking around normally. What the fuck? And the next news story about like AI art and copyright is in regards to a recent lawsuit that happened with Suno and Warner Music Group. And the story ended pretty bad because Warner Music Group and Suno are forging a groundbreaking partnership. Warner Music Group, one of the world's largest music companies, and Suno, a leader in AI music, today will announce a first-of-its-kind partnership that will open new frontiers in music creation, interaction, and discovery. While both compensating and protecting artists, songwriters, and the wider creative community, this deal brings together Suno's best-in-class AI capabilities with WMG's artist development and leadership and expertise at the intersection of music and technology. The deal also settles previous litigation between the two companies. Robert Seinel, The landmark pact with Suno is a victory for the creative community that benefits everyone. With Suno rapidly scaling, both in users and monetization, we seize the opportunity to shape the models that expand revenue and deliver new fan experiences. AI becomes pro-artist when it adheres to our principles. No, it doesn't. When it adheres to the media conglomerate's principles, no, it does not become pro-artist. It becomes pro-artist when it actually benefits the artist, not you. With an opt-in for the use of their name, image, likeness, voice, and composition for new AI songs. Michael Schluman, CEO of our partnership with Warner Music unlocks a bigger, richer Suno music for whatever, blah, blah, blah. Basically, this is the one thing I really don't get. Like, come on. Suno will make several changes to the platform, including launching new, more advanced license models. No, you can't license it. No. Wrong. Fail, loser, cringe, no. Suno cannot license anything. Suno cannot license any of the fucking shit they do. You cannot license any of the songs made on Suno. You cannot. That is not real. You can't do that. Copyright law says very clear. Human has to make it. A human has to make it for it to be copyrightable and thus be approved for a license. That's the only way you can do that. If it's not made by a human, you can't copyright it, you can't license it. You cannot. You cannot. That is wrong. No. No, we're not legitimizing this. Unless you want to give the AI itself human rights, you can't copyright it. That should be the next fucking video. Like, I mean, the next video should be like when I really have to do a copyright video. I think I need to just tackle this one. The AI, you cannot copyright AI work. You cannot. It's just very abundantly clear. You cannot copyright AI work ever. Period. Anyways, let's just move on to the next topic, the main topic of this video. We're going to be doing this quiz called the l0stw0lf quiz. And this quiz is interesting because it just starts you off here. It's a quiz that I saw and, I guess, whatever. Let's just take it. I don't think we can go backwards or forwards, so I got to be extra, extra, extra clear on what side I am doing. History only moves in one direction, forwards. I mean, by definition, that's not true. So, but I know what they kind of mean, so I'm going to put somewhat disagree. Food is the first thing. Morals follow on. I really don't know what that's supposed to mean, but no. High culture stirs the soul, whereas low culture rots it. I guess kind of, but what is that supposed to mean? The West is broken and needs to return to its roots. Totally disagree, because that is like fucking cringe, because like I know this is like fashy coded, so no. The difference between people are only cosmetic. Beneath that, everyone is equal. Totally agree. Race is culture. Culture is race. I don't really know. Some would disagree or some would agree. I guess let's just put someone disagree. A woman should feel shame for sleeping around. No. The government should protect domestic industries from foreign competition. Totally agree. Things are much worse now than they were in the past. I'll put somewhat disagree because, I mean, this is usually like a fashy coded thing for like, oh, the gays are getting married now, but like, I guess technically that's kind of true. Like, I guess really in the sense like 4 years ago, we were doing pretty good. Tradition is nothing but unthinking dogma. Totally agree. If a person is fat, it is because they eat too much. I mean, first of all, this is the one that's in the thumbnail because the question is just kind of fucking funny. But I guess, yeah, true, technically. If a person is fat, it's because they eat too much. There could be other socio-political factors that lead to them eating too much. But yeah, if they're fat, they're usually eating too much. History can be described as 2 steps forward, 1 step back. No. It is natural that others will judge you. I guess. It's culture that makes us who we are. That's the thing. It's like these words don't mean much to me because, like, to a white fascist, they see these words like, oh, it's our white culture. But like, to me, culture is not like white, black or whatever. That to me, like, that's not what it is. But like, I guess somewhat agree, just because it's like, to me, culture is like beyond just like racial divides or like Western values or whatever. Pride goes before the fall, I guess. A lack of personal hygiene reflects badly on a person's character. Somewhat agree. Shower. History is a struggle over ownership. History is a struggle over the ownership of the means of production. I'd say somewhat agree. It is wrong to be envious of what others possess. Not necessarily. That's just human emotion. Science will keep getting better until it eventually solves all of our problems. I'll put somewhat agree because like that seems like somewhat dogmatistic to imply that science will solve all the problems, but like, no, wait. I guess I'll put somewhat agree. Some people are better than others. What does that mean by that? I'm going to put somewhat disagree because, like, is this a racial thing? Greedy businessmen should be made to pay a higher rate of tax. Yes. You can tell how much money a person will earn just by looking at their genes. No, that's racist. If only we had equality of opportunity, we'd see much fairer distribution of material possessions. Totally agree. We must strive to maximize the most desirable genes and to minimize the least desirable. Totally disagree. That's eugenics. Power and glory make people greater, whereas toleration make people weaker. No. Social liberalism is moral syphilis. No. There is no fundamental difference between men and women beyond how they are raised. Some would agree. The first and foremost work of any man is to work on his inner essence, his work on his being, work on himself, work on his soul and his body. The way you're wording that's pretty weird, so I'm going to put somewhat disagree. That whatever occurs, we don't have to apologize. We step over what exists. No. In order to embrace the future, we must let go of the past. Yeah. Self-control is more important than letting it all hang out. It depends on what you mean. I'd really wish they had like a middle one. Okay. This one would be, I believe self-control is more important. This one, I believe letting it all hang out is more important. Again, it really depends. Most cultural change can be seen as the consequence of technological change. Yeah. What has risen will fall, and what has fallen will rise again. Not necessarily. Man is born free, but everywhere in chains. Kind of. Monopolistic firms will be broken up by antitrust laws. Absolutely. Imagine that all the people sharing all the world. I hope someday you will join us and the world will be as one. Is this quote from somebody? Hold on. I gotta make sure. Okay, I kind of showed myself in my arrogance. That's a John Lennon quote. So I guess I'll have to put agree. I'll have to put totally agree on that because, like, yeah, at least he's coming at it from a left-wing perspective. I was a little concerned. I didn't want this to be like, oh, that was actually a Hitler quote. Oh, by the way, do you guys know who this, like, fucking guy in the background is? I don't know who this is. I don't know if I can find a picture of it. I don't know if I can, like, put this guy in, like, a Google search or whatever, but, like, I might do it later after this video ends, but at this moment, I don't know who he is. All phenomena are correlated in one absolute and necessary law, from which they can all be reduced. Again, this would probably be useful if there was like a middle ground. Some would disagree. The market always provides a wider range of goods and services at a more affordable grocery price than those providing in central government planning. Some would disagree. What was will be again. Some would disagree, not necessarily. A culture is nothing without its mythologies. Some would disagree, no. Everyone has the right to be provided the basic provisions of life, such as food and shelter, absolutely. To best understand the events of a period, we need to uncover what people believed about themselves and about the world. Yeah, I'd say kind of. Inequality was born with the establishment of property rights. Give me a child until he is 7, and I will show you the foundations of the man. What? Again, I don't know what this means. To get to the heart of any matter, follow the money. Ideas can change the world. Human progress is an illusion. Quality assurance regulations lead to better products over voluntary insurance industry standards for the free market. Okay, here we are. Economics. Forced allocation, 95%, free market 5%, social, 77% egalitarian, 23% hierarchical. It's a bit strange. Biological, blank slate, hereditary, casual materialist, I'm a little bit of a materialist, more less than idealist, historical, linear, cyclical, moral, libertine, 51%, Puritan, 49%, cultural, modernist, traditional. yeah, I guess that's it. Oh well, that's pretty much all I gotta say on that. This quiz is kind of boring, but hey, I ran out of all the good ones. I'm not gonna be doing the I sided with test until like 2028 election time. So yeah. And if anybody has any actual good quiz that I haven't taken yet, or if anybody wants me to see a take a quiz again that I haven't taken in a while, feel free to let me know. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video comes out. And if you need more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.